His communicator blinked. A message from Admiral Hughes. He read it twice. New ship under construction. Same class as Vengeance. Better weapons. Stronger shields. Need a commander with experience. Are you interested? Kyle stared at the message for a long time. His orders were to stay on Earth, to teach, to stay grounded. But orders could be changed. Ships needed captains, and humanity needed protectors, even if those protectors had bloody hands. He thought about Jake Morrison walking away, about the Senate Committee's accusations, about the isolation humanity now faced, about the cost of what he had done. Then he thought about human colonies on the frontier, about civilians who needed someone to stand between them and the dark, about enemies who would come eventually, whether humanity wanted peace or not. He typed a one-word reply. Yes, the message sent. Kyle looked back up at the stars. The war wasn't over. It had barely begun. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity. Now humanity would have to learn to live with that fear, to use it, to turn it into armor, because somewhere in the darkness threats were gathering, old powers were waking, and humanity stood alone. But alone had always been how humans fought best. Alone with their backs against the wall, facing impossible odds. That's when they were most dangerous. That's when they refused to break. The vengeance was gone, but its message remained, written in ash across the void, a warning to anyone who thought humans were weak. The deep space scanner flickered with new data, and Commander Zolth leaned forward in his command seat. His three eyes focused on the small blue planet rotating slowly on the holographic display. Another primitive world, he thought. Another species barely crawling out of their gravity well. The Vrexian Dominion had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They had seen countless civilizations rise and fall. They knew the patterns of technological development as well as they knew their own history. Every species followed the same path, climbing the ladder of progress one careful step at a time. It took centuries, sometimes millennia. There were no shortcuts in the universe. Zolth activated the analysis program and waited. Numbers scrolled across his screen, painting a picture of the civilization below. Chemical rockets, primitive satellites, basic fusion experiments that barely produced more energy than they consumed. A few space stations orbiting their homeworld. The beings called themselves humans, and they were nothing special. Level 2 civilization, his science officer reported. Standard technological markers. No faster-than-light capability. No energy shields. No quantum computing. They split the atom recently. Very recently, Zolth nodded. Level 2 meant they were aware of space but couldn't truly travel it. They were like children playing in a shallow pool while an ocean stretched beyond their vision. The Dominion had protocols for such species. Offer them protection. Guide their development. Extract tribute. Keep them contained until they matured enough to join galactic society properly. Prepare a contact package, Zolth ordered. We'll give them the standard greeting. Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the ESS Horizon, humanity's first true deep space exploration vessel. It had taken 30 years to build and represented the pinnacle of human engineering. Jake felt proud every time he walked through its corridors. The ship could travel to Mars in 3 weeks. It could sustain a crew of 50 for 2 years. It was humanity's greatest achievement. Then the sensor screamed. "Contact," shouted the sensor officer. Multiple ships, unknown configuration, appearing near Mars orbit. Jake's heart hammered in his chest. Ships. Alien ships. The question that had haunted humanity for centuries suddenly had an answer. They were not alone. The ships were massive, dwarfing anything humans had ever built. They moved with impossible grace, ignoring the laws of physics that constrained human vessels. They simply appeared where they wanted to be, as if space itself bent to their will. "All stations, battle readiness," Jake ordered, though he knew it was pointless. If these aliens were hostile, humanity had no defense. The Horizon carried exactly 2 missile tubes and a point defense laser designed to destroy space debris. Against those ships, they might as well throw rocks. But the aliens didn't attack. Instead, they transmitted. Dr. Claire Bennett hunched over her computer in the linguistics lab, staring at patterns that made no sense. The alien transmission contained no recognizable language, no pictures, no obvious attempt at communication. Just mathematical sequences repeating in complex patterns. She worked for 16 hours straight. Coffee cups piled up around her desk. Her colleagues came and went offering suggestions, but Claire barely noticed. The pattern was there. She could feel it. Mathematics was universal. 2 plus 2 equaled 4 whether you were human or alien. She just needed to find the key. Then she saw it. The sequences weren't random. They were teaching her their language. Each pattern built on the previous one, creating a framework of meaning. It was brilliant. Within another 6 hours, she had a basic translator running. The message was simple and terrifying. Surrender your independence. Accept Dominion protection. You have 1 year to comply. The world's leaders gathered in emergency session. Generals shouted about defense. Politicians debated surrender. Scientists argued both sides. Jake Morrison sat in the corner listening, saying nothing. He had seen those ships up close. He knew what humanity faced. We can't fight them. One general admitted, our weapons are useless. Our ships are too slow. If they want to destroy us, we're already dead. Then we surrender? A president asked. No. The voice came from a small woman in the back of the room. Dr. Lisa Morgan, one of Earth's leading physicists, stepped forward. We do neither. We buy time. We accept their deadline. And we work. Work on what? Jake asked. Lisa's eyes gleamed with something between madness and genius. They gave us a year. They think we're primitive. They think we'll stay primitive. They don't understand what humans do when we're desperate. We innovate. We adapt. We break rules. A man beside her nodded. Daniel Hayes was an engineer who had revolutionized manufacturing on Earth. His factories could build anything given the right designs. We recorded everything about their ships during the contact. Every energy signature, every hull configuration, every transmission frequency. We have data. We just need to use it. The plan was insane. Humanity would pretend to consider the Dominion offer, while secretly racing to close a technological gap that should take thousands of years to bridge. They would pool every resource, every brilliant mind, every manufacturing facility on Earth and beyond. They called it Project Ascension. Jake Morrison found himself pulled into the project as military liaison. His job was to observe alien movements and gather intelligence. The Vrexians had left monitoring stations at the edge of the solar system, confident that primitive humans couldn't detect them. They were wrong. Jake took the horizon on what appeared to be a routine mapping mission to Jupiter's moons. But as they passed the monitoring station, hidden sensors recorded everything: hull composition, power signatures, shield frequencies. The aliens were so certain of their superiority that they didn't bother hiding their technology. 3 months into the year-long deadline, Jake attended a diplomatic meeting with Commander Zolth. The Vrexian wanted to discuss terms of Earth's surrender. Jake smiled and nodded and asked polite questions. And the entire time, his ship's computers recorded every energy fluctuation from the Vrexian vessel. Zolth noticed nothing. To him, Jake was just another primitive creature, playing at diplomacy while his civilization's fate was already sealed. The Vrexian commander had seen 1,000 species make the same journey. Humans would be no different. Back on Earth, Lisa Morgan stared at the data Jake had gathered. Her hands trembled slightly. The information was incredible. The aliens used quantum field manipulation in ways human theory said was impossible. Their shields operated across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Their weapons channeled power through microscopic wormholes. It should have been discouraging. The technology gap was even larger than they feared. Instead, Lisa smiled. Because humans had one advantage the Vrexians didn't know about. Humans didn't care what theory said was impossible. They tried anyway. They failed, learned, and tried again. They broke rules. They improvised. They adapted. In a hidden laboratory on the moon, Daniel Hayes activated the first prototype. It exploded spectacularly, destroying half the facility. He rebuilt it and tried again. On Mars, engineers worked in underground caverns, building factories that consumed power at levels that should have been impossible for a Level 2 civilization. And on Earth, Claire Bennett studied Vrexian psychology through their communications. She learned how they thought, how they evaluated threats, how they consistently underestimated species they deemed inferior. The Vrexians would never see it coming. As the deadline approached, Commander Zolth reviewed his reports with satisfaction. The humans were building more space stations, launching more satellites, improving their primitive technology incrementally, exactly as expected. They would surrender. They always did. He had no idea that humanity had just learned to break the laws of physics. 6 months had passed since Commander Zolth delivered his ultimatum to Earth. He sat in his monitoring station at the edge of the solar system, reviewing reports with growing boredom. The humans were behaving exactly as predicted. More satellites, more space stations, incremental improvements to their chemical rockets. Nothing unexpected, nothing threatening. Then the power readings changed. "Commander," his sensor technician called out. "Energy consumption on the human colony at Mars just increased by 400%. Zolth frowned. "Sensor malfunction. Check your equipment." The technician worked for several minutes. "No malfunction, Commander. The readings are accurate. And it's not just Mars. Their lunar facilities are showing similar increases. They're consuming power at levels far beyond what their civilization should be capable of generating." Zolth studied the data. It made no sense. 6 months ago, humanity struggled to maintain 3 fusion reactors. Now they appeared to have dozens operating simultaneously. But building fusion infrastructure took years, decades. You couldn't just wish reactors into existence. "Continue monitoring," Zolth ordered, "and increase sensor sensitivity. I want to know everything happening in this system." He didn't report the anomaly to his superiors. Why worry them over sensor glitches? The humans remained primitive. The numbers must be wrong. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, Dr. Lisa Morgan stood before a machine that shouldn't exist. It hummed with barely contained power, warping the space around it in ways that made her eyes hurt if she looked too long. The quantum field generator represented 6 months of sleepless nights, failed experiments, and breakthroughs that came faster than she could properly document. "Are we ready?" she asked. Daniel Hayes nodded from the control panel. His fingers flew across the interface, checking readings that all registered in the green. Power levels optimal. Field stability at 97%. Containment holding. "We're as ready as we'll ever be." Lisa took a deep breath. The theory was sound. At least it was sound according to the new physics they had discovered while reverse engineering Vrexian technology. But theory and practice were different things. They were about to attempt something no human had ever done before. "Activate the generator," she ordered. The machine's hum increased to a roar. Space itself seemed to ripple and fold, and then impossibly a hole opened in reality. A perfect sphere of absolute darkness that led somewhere else. A wormhole, stable, contained, controllable. Daniel stared at his readings. "It worked. Lisa, it actually worked. We just created a tunnel through space-time." Lisa laughed. It bubbled up from somewhere deep inside, relief and joy and terror all mixed together. They had done in 6 months what should have taken 1,000 years. They had broken the laws of physics and rewritten them to humanity's advantage. But they couldn't stop there. In a hidden shipyard beyond Pluto's orbit, pilot Amy Carter ran her hands over the controls of the Pathfinder. The ship was small, barely larger than an old space shuttle, but it represented humanity's desperate gamble. Every new technology, every breakthrough, every impossible innovation had been packed into this single vessel. "Ready for test flight," she reported to Mission Control. General Marcus Bell watched from Earth through a secure channel. His face showed the weight of command, the knowledge that billions of lives rested on what happened next. "You don't have to do this, Amy. The ship is experimental. We haven't had time for proper testing." Amy smiled. "That's why it has to be me, General. I'm the best pilot humanity has. If anyone can handle the unexpected, it's me." She engaged the engines. Normal thrust pushed her back into the seat, acceleration building smoothly. Then she activated the new systems, the ones built from stolen alien knowledge and human innovation. The universe twisted. Reality bent around the Pathfinder like water around a stone. The ship didn't move through space. Instead, space moved around the ship, pushing it forward at velocities that should have been impossible. Amy felt pressure, but not the crushing force that normal acceleration would create. The ship existed partially in normal space and partially in something else, somewhere the old rules didn't apply. Her instruments registered the ship's speed. She blinked, certain the numbers were wrong. She was moving at 3 times the speed of light. Then 5 times. Then 10, Mission Control, she whispered. "The test is successful. I repeat, test is successful. Humanity just achieved faster than light travel. The transmission took seconds to reach Earth despite the vast distance. On Earth, in secret facilities around the world, engineers and scientists celebrated. They had done it. They had actually done it. But there was no time to rest. General Marcus Bell stood before a holographic display showing the construction facilities hidden in asteroid fields throughout the solar system. Thousands of people worked around the clock, using manufacturing techniques that Daniel Hayes had perfected: nanoscale assembly, molecular construction, machines building machines that built ships. How many? He asked. 50 warships completed, an aide reported. Another 20 under construction. At current pace, we'll have 100 operational before the deadline. Marcus nodded slowly. 50 ships, against an empire that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. It should have been a joke, but these weren't normal ships. Each one carried technology that made the Vrexian fleet look primitive by comparison. Jake Morrison walked through the hangar bay of the ESS Defiance, humanity's new flagship. The ship was massive, built using techniques that didn't exist a year ago. Its hull shimmered with adaptive armor that could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Its weapons could tear holes in space-time itself. Its engines could cross the galaxy in days rather than decades. "She's beautiful," Jake whispered. "She's terrifying," Claire Bennett replied beside him. The linguist had become humanity's chief diplomatic officer, though there hadn't been much diplomacy lately. "Jake, we've built weapons that could destroy planets. We've created technology that advanced species take millennia to develop, and we've done it in 6 months." Jake turned to face her. "You think we're moving too fast? I think we're about to shock the galaxy, and I'm not sure the galaxy is ready for us." At the edge of the solar system, Commander Zolth's monitoring station detected the Pathfinder's test flight. The sensors screamed warnings as impossible readings flooded his displays. A human ship moving faster than light. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. "Check all systems," Zolth ordered. "Full diagnostic. These readings cannot be accurate." The technicians worked frantically. "All systems functioning normally, Commander. The readings are real." Zolth's 3 eyes widened. For the first time in his long career, he felt genuine fear. Humans weren't supposed to develop this quickly. No species could jump from level 2 to level 5 in mere months. It violated every principle of technological development. He composed an urgent message to Dominion High Command. This was no longer a routine protectorate situation. Something impossible was happening on Earth, and his superiors needed to know immediately. The message transmitted across the galaxy, racing toward the Dominion capital at faster-than-light speeds. Back on Earth, in the underground facility that served as Project Ascension's headquarters, Lisa Morgan and Daniel Hayes stood before a new prototype. This one was larger, more complex, more dangerous than anything they had built before. "Are you sure about this?" Daniel asked. Lisa studied the equations flowing across her screen. "The math is solid. We can create localized fields that alter the fundamental constants of physics. Change gravity, change electromagnetic force, change how matter itself behaves, and that's insane. That's humanity." Lisa smiled. "We've already done the impossible. Why stop now?" The prototype activated. For a brief moment, in a small sphere in the center of the laboratory, the laws of physics changed. Water flowed upward. Light bent in impossible directions. Matter existed in states that shouldn't be possible. Then the field collapsed and reality snapped back to normal. Daniel exhaled slowly. "We just rewrote the rules of the universe." "No," Lisa corrected. "We just proved we can rewrite them. Now we need to weaponize it." Jake Morrison received the report while aboard the Defiance. He read it 3 times, making sure he understood. Humanity had developed weapons that could literally change how reality worked. They could make it impossible for enemy ships to fire weapons or maintain shields or even move. It was the ultimate trump card. And they would need it, because Commander Zolth's message had reached Dominion High Command, and the ancient empire was not pleased. The 1-year deadline arrived like thunder in the night. Commander Zolth emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system, his fleet of 30 warships arranged in perfect formation behind him. He expected to see humanity's primitive satellites and crude space stations. He expected fear and surrender. Instead, he found empty space. "Sensor report," Zolth demanded, his 3 eyes scanning the displays frantically. "No contacts, Commander. Earth orbit is clear. All satellites gone. The space stations have disappeared. Even their primitive communications network is offline." Zolth felt confusion turn to anger. Had the humans fled, That would be unusual but not unprecedented. Some species chose to scatter rather than submit to Dominion rule. But where could humans go? They barely had faster-than-light technology, according to his last intelligence report. They couldn't have evacuated an entire planet. Full system scan. Find them. The sensors reached out, probing every planet, every moon, every asteroid. Nothing, no power signatures, no life signs. It was as if humanity had simply vanished. Then the universe shifted. Space itself rippled like water, and 50 ships appeared around the Vrexian fleet. They materialized from nowhere, surrounding Zolth's forces in a perfectly coordinated formation. The ships were enormous, twice the size of Dominion warships, and they gleamed with technology that made Zolth's blood run cold. A transmission cut through every channel simultaneously. Jake Morrison's face appeared on Zolth's screen, calm and professional. "Commander Zolth, thank you for the year. We've put it to good use. Humanity rejects your protectorate. Earth will remain independent. We recommend you leave peacefully." Zolth stared in disbelief. How had primitive humans built such ships? Where had they found the technology? The resources? The knowledge? It was impossible. Completely impossible. You dare threaten the Dominion? Zolth's voice shook with rage. "You insects. You primitives. Do you think a few fancy ships change anything? We have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. We have crushed 1,000 rebellions. You are nothing." Jake's expression didn't change. "Last chance, Commander. Leave now." Zolth's fury overrode his caution. "All ships weapons free. Destroy them." 30 Vrexian warships opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams capable of vaporizing mountains lanced toward the human fleet. Missiles that could shatter moons streaked through space. It was enough firepower to obliterate a planet. The weapons struck human shields and simply vanished. Not deflected, not absorbed. Vanished. The energy ceased to exist the moment it touched the barrier surrounding human ships. The shields operated on principles Zolth had never seen, manipulating dimensional physics in ways Dominion science said was impossible. "Return fire," Jake ordered calmly. The human response was surgical. Beam weapons of pure concentrated energy sliced through Vrexian shields like they weren't there. The shields didn't overload or fail. They simply didn't register the attack at all, as if the weapons existed in a different layer of reality. 3 Vrexian ships exploded in the first volley. 5 more lost power, drifting helplessly. 8 sustained critical damage, atmosphere venting into space. In less than 30 seconds, half of Zolth's fleet was gone. "Retreat!" Zolth screamed. All ships emergency faster-than-light jump. The surviving Vrexian vessels tried to flee. Most succeeded. But not all. The human weapons were too fast, too precise, too advanced. By the time the last Dominion ship vanished into faster-than-light travel, only Zolth's flagship and 6 escorts remained intact. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the enemy retreat. His hands trembled slightly. They had won. Against all odds, against an empire that had ruled for millennia, humanity had won their first battle. "Casualties?" he asked. "None, Captain. All ships intact. Shields held perfectly. 0 damage." Jake closed his eyes briefly. Thank God. Thank Lisa Morgan's impossible shields and Daniel Hayes's incredible weapons and Amy Carter's brilliant tactics. Thank every scientist and engineer who had worked themselves to exhaustion for the past year. Send a message to Earth. Tell them we're still independent. The celebration lasted exactly 12 hours. Then the reality of what they had done set in. Humanity had humiliated the Vrexian Dominion. They had destroyed 24 warships without suffering a single casualty. The galaxy would hear about this, and the Dominion would respond. Claire Bennett worked frantically in her diplomatic office, monitoring transmissions across known space. The news was spreading faster than she expected. Dozens of species had automated monitoring stations in nearby systems. They had all recorded the battle. "Jake, you need to see this," she called. Jake joined her, studying the flood of incoming transmissions. Species he had never heard of were reaching out. Some offered congratulations. Some offered alliances. Some simply asked questions, unable to believe what their sensors had recorded. "We're famous," Claire said quietly. "Or infamous. I'm not sure which." 3 transmissions stood out from the rest. They came from ancient species, civilizations so old they predated the Vrexian Dominion itself. The Ethereal Collective, the Forge Masters, the Hive Unity. They were requesting diplomatic contact with humanity. "What do they want?" Jake asked. Claire pulled up analysis reports. According to Vrexian databases we captured, these species are the galaxy's elders. They don't interfere in younger civilizations' affairs. They observe. They study. They almost never make direct contact. But they're contacting us. Because we broke the rules, Jake. We advanced from level 2 to level 5 in 1 year. That doesn't happen. Ever. In the entire recorded history of the galaxy, no species has developed that fast. We're an anomaly, and these ancient species want to understand why. On Earth, Dr. Lisa Morgan and Daniel Hayes studied biological data that Claire had collected. They were trying to understand humanity's rapid advancement from a scientific perspective. Why could humans do what other species couldn't? Look at this, Lisa said, highlighting neural scan data. Human brain plasticity is off the charts compared to other known species. We adapt, we learn, we improvise. Most galactic species have rigid thought patterns. They follow established paths. They respect limitations. Daniel nodded slowly. We don't. We see a problem and we throw everything at it until something works. We don't care if the solution is elegant or follows the rules. We just care if it works. Exactly. And when you're facing extinction, when you're desperate, that trait becomes exponentially more powerful. We didn't have time to be careful. We didn't have time to test properly. We just built and hoped and adapted when things failed. So humanity's secret weapon is basically organized chaos? Lisa laughed. More or less. We're good at crisis innovation. Most species plan carefully. We improvise brilliantly. Meanwhile, at the Dominion capital halfway across the galaxy, High Chancellor Vrexus watched the battle footage for the 10th time. She couldn't believe it. Wouldn't believe it. Humans were primitives, level 2. They discovered nuclear power just decades ago. They couldn't possibly have built such ships, but the footage didn't lie. Explain this, she demanded of her military advisors. Admiral Korthax, the Dominion's supreme military commander, studied the tactical data. They ambushed us, used advanced stealth technology we've never encountered. Their weapons operate on dimensional principles our shields can't counter, and their ships move faster than ours. How did they develop such technology so quickly? We don't know, Chancellor, but we can't let this stand. If other protectorate species learn that humanity defeated us, it will encourage rebellion. We'll face uprisings across the Dominion. Vrexus knew he was right. The Dominion's power rested on the perception of invincibility. If humans could defeat them, others would try. The Empire would crumble. Mobilize the Second Fleet, Vrexus ordered. 200 ships. I want humanity crushed. I want their planet reduced to ash. Make an example of them. Korthax hesitated. Chancellor, perhaps we should study them first. Learn how they achieved such advancement. The knowledge could benefit the Dominion. No. They are a threat. Threats must be eliminated. Vrexus's voice was final. Destroy them. News of the Second Fleet's mobilization reached Earth within days. Intelligence assets, some human and some from sympathetic alien species, reported the Dominion's plans. 200 warships would arrive in approximately 3 months. General Marcus Bell convened an emergency meeting of Earth's military and scientific leadership. Jake Morrison attended via holographic link from the Defiance. 200 ships, Marcus said flatly. We have 50 operational vessels. Even with our technological advantage, those are bad odds. We need help, Claire argued. The elder species offered alliances. We should accept. No. Jake's voice was firm. If we accept their help now, we'll forever be junior partners. We'll never stand as equals in the galaxy. We need to prove we can defend ourselves. Even if that means Earth's destruction? Claire asked. Jake met her eyes. We've come this far on our own. We broke the rules. We did the impossible. We can do it again. We just need to think like humans. Improvise, adapt, win. Lisa Morgan spoke up from her laboratory. Jake's right. We have 3 months. That's enough time for another breakthrough. It has to be. The meeting adjourned with a simple plan. Keep building. Keep innovating. Keep breaking the laws of physics until they found something. Admiral Korthax stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching 200 Dominion warships arrange themselves in perfect formation. It was the largest fleet assembled in 3 centuries. Enough firepower to sterilize a dozen planets. Enough ships to blockade an entire system. All of it aimed at one primitive species that had gotten lucky once. They caught Commander Zolth by surprise, Korthax told his officers. That won't happen to us. We know about their shields. We know about their weapons. We've adapted our tactics. This battle will be different. His sensor officer nodded. We've configured our shields to rotate through multiple frequencies. Their weapons won't pass through as easily, and we've brought overwhelming numbers. Even if they destroy half our fleet, we'll still have enough ships to complete the mission. Korthax smiled. The humans had surprised everyone with their rapid development. But surprise only worked once. Now the Dominion knew what they faced, and they would not underestimate their enemy again. Set course for Earth. Maximum speed. The massive fleet jumped to faster than light travel, crossing the galaxy toward humanity's home system. The journey would take 10 days. On Earth, the countdown began. General Marcus Bell stood in the war room, surrounded by holographic displays showing defensive positions throughout the solar system. 50 human warships had grown to 75 as manufacturing facilities worked around the clock. But 75 against 200 was still terrible odds. Update on the new weapons? Marcus asked. Daniel Hayes appeared on a screen, calling from a research facility on Mars. We've refined the reality manipulation technology. We can now project a field that alters physics across a sphere roughly 10,000 kilometers in diameter. Inside that field, we control the rules. And ships can still operate in altered physics? Our ships can. We designed them to be flexible. The Dominion ships are optimized for normal spacetime. Change the rules and they become useless. Marcus nodded slowly. It was crazy. Insane. Using weapons that rewrote reality itself. But they had run out of conventional options weeks ago. How many devices can we deploy? 5, maybe 6 if we push production. Each one is incredibly complex. Make it 6. We'll need every advantage. Jake Morrison reviewed tactical plans aboard the Defiance. Amy Carter sat beside him, her pilot's instincts already working through scenarios. They'll come in strong, Amy said. Probably split their fleet into multiple attack groups. Try to divide our forces. We can't let that happen. Our advantage is quality, not quantity. We need to keep our fleet concentrated. What about the reality weapons? Jake pulled up simulations that Lisa Morgan's team had run. We deploy them in a shell around Earth. When the Dominion fleet enters the defensive zone, we activate the fields. Their ships stop working. Ours don't. We pick them off while they're helpless. Amy frowned. That assumes they all enter the zone at once. What if they're smart? What if they send probing attacks first? Test our defenses? Then we adapt. Like always, 10 days passed in a blur of preparation. Manufacturing facilities produced weapons and ammunition at rates that shouldn't have been possible. Training simulations ran continuously. Engineers made last-minute modifications to ship systems. Everyone knew this battle would decide humanity's fate. On the 9th day, 3 ancient species sent observers. Ethereal collective ships, nearly invisible in normal space, positioned themselves at the edge of the solar system. Forgemaster vessels, enormous constructs of living metal, did the same. The Hive Unity, a collective consciousness controlling thousands of small ships, formed a perimeter well outside combat range. They had come to watch, to witness, to see if humanity could perform another miracle. Claire Bennett established communication with the observers. Thank you for coming. Though I wish you were here to help rather than watch. The ethereal collective's response came in harmonic tones. We do not interfere in the development of younger species. But we are curious. You have broken patterns that held constant for millions of years. We must understand how. And if we lose, if the Dominion destroys us, then the galaxy will have learned that rapid advancement, while possible, is ultimately futile against established power. Claire closed the channel, frustrated. The ancient species would let humanity die rather than interfere with the natural order. So be it. Humans would save themselves or perish trying. Admiral Korthax emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. His sensors immediately began mapping human defensive positions. 75 ships arranged in concentric shells around the inner planets. A strong defense, but still hopelessly outnumbered. All ships, attack formation Beta 7. First wave, advance. 60 Dominion warships accelerated toward Earth. They moved cautiously, shields at maximum, weapons charged. Korthax was taking no chances. The human fleet responded immediately. Jake Morrison's voice transmitted on all Dominion channels. Turn back now. This is your only warning, Korthax laughed. You are outnumbered nearly 3 to 1. Surrender now and we will make your extinction quick. We've heard that before. Didn't work out well for Commander Zolth. The first wave entered weapons range. Both sides opened fire simultaneously. For the first hour, the battle seemed even. Human ships were individually superior, their weapons and shields far more advanced, but the Dominion had numbers and coordination. For every Dominion ship destroyed, the humans lost a ship to concentrated fire from multiple angles. Then General Marcus Bell gave the order, activate reality fields. 6 devices hidden throughout the inner solar system came online. Space itself twisted and changed. Inside the affected zones, the fundamental constants of physics shifted. Gravity weakened. Electromagnetic forces altered. The speed of light changed. Dominion ships trying to maneuver suddenly found their engines working differently. Weapons that should have fired failed to operate. Shields designed for normal physics flickered and collapsed. 60 warships became sitting targets. Human ships designed with flexible physics in mind continued operating perfectly. Amy Carter led a squadron through the confused Dominion formations, destroying ships with surgical precision. Jake Morrison coordinated the overall battle plan, directing human forces to maximum effect. In 20 minutes, the first wave was annihilated. Admiral Korthax stared at his displays in horror. 60 ships gone. Just like that. What kind of species changed the laws of physics as a weapon? It was obscene, unnatural, wrong. Pull back the second wave, he ordered. Reform outside their weapon range. But pulling back meant admitting the advance had failed. It meant showing weakness, and the Dominion never showed weakness. Korthax made a decision. All remaining ships full assault. Overwhelm them with numbers. Some of us will get through. 140 warships surged forward in a massive wave. They came from multiple vectors trying to divide human attention. The reality fields could only cover so much space. If enough Dominion ships pushed through, they could reach Earth itself. General Marcus Bell watched the enemy advance with grim determination. All ships fall back to second defensive line. Make them pay for every meter. The battle intensified. Human ships retreated slowly, fighting a delaying action. They destroyed dozens of Dominion vessels, but more kept coming. The sheer numbers were overwhelming. Within 2 hours, Dominion forces had penetrated the outer defensive shell. Then something unexpected happened. Lisa Morgan activated a new weapon she had been holding in reserve. It didn't destroy ships. Instead, it created a network of quantum entanglement across the entire battlefield. Every human ship became instantly aware of every other ship's position and status. They stopped being individual vessels and became a single, coordinated organism. The effect was devastating. Human ships moved in perfect synchronization, covering each other's weaknesses, amplifying each other's strengths. No wasted movement, no gaps in formation, just a smoothly flowing machine of destruction. Admiral Korthax saw his fleet being dismantled piece by piece despite the numerical advantage. The humans fought with impossible coordination. It was as if they could read his tactical decisions before he made them. Flagship under fire, his tactical officer shouted. Shields at 40%. Korthax gripped his command chair. This was impossible. How could a species that discovered spaceflight mere decades ago fight with such sophistication? Where had they found such technology? Such weapons? Such tactical brilliance? The answer was simple, though Korthax would never understand it. Humans didn't find the technology. They invented it. Under pressure, in crisis, with impossible deadlines. They broke every rule of technological development because they had no choice. They innovated or died, and humans were very good at innovation. 3 days the battle lasted. 3 days of continuous combat that stretched both sides to their limits. When it finally ended, fewer than 20 Dominion ships escaped. Admiral Korthax's flagship was among them, badly damaged and barely functional. The human fleet had suffered losses too. 30 ships destroyed, thousands dead, but Earth remained safe. Humanity remained independent. As the surviving Dominion vessels limped away into faster-than-light travel, the ancient observers transmitted their analysis across the galaxy. The ethereal collective's message was simple. We have witnessed the impossible. A Level 2 civilization has defeated a galactic empire. The old High Chancellor Vrexa stood before the assembled Dominion Council, her 3 eyes burning with fury. The holographic display behind her showed casualty reports that would have been unthinkable a year ago. 240 ships lost, thousands of trained warriors dead. An empire's reputation shattered. The humans must be destroyed, she declared. Not contained. Not subjugated, destroyed. Completely. I am authorizing the mobilization of the entire Dominion fleet. 2,000 warships, every vessel we have. We will turn their planet to ash and scatter the remains across space. The council members shifted uncomfortably. Such a mobilization hadn't occurred in 5,000 years. It would leave Dominion space vulnerable. It would drain resources. It would signal to the entire galaxy that the humans represented an existential threat. Chancellor, one council member ventured, perhaps we should negotiate. Study them. Learn from them. Vrexus's rage exploded. Learn from primitives. They humiliated us. They destroyed our fleets. They made us look weak. Species across the Dominion are already rebelling. If we don't crush humanity now, the Empire will fall. The vote was unanimous. The Dominion would commit everything to destroying Earth. On Earth, exhausted celebration gave way to grim determination. General Marcus Bell reviewed intelligence reports with growing concern. The Dominion was mobilizing its entire military. 2,000 ships, the largest armada ever assembled in galactic history. We can't fight that, one general said flatly. We barely survived 200 ships. 2,000 is impossible. Jake Morrison stood by the window looking out at Earth's blue oceans. He had spent the past week attending memorial services for the crews who died in the last battle. Good people. Brave people. They had sacrificed everything for humanity's future. We'll find a way, Jake said quietly. We always do. With what, magic? We've already used every technological advantage we have. We've deployed weapons that rewrite reality. What's left? Lisa Morgan and Daniel Hayes arrived at the meeting with dark circles under their eyes. They had been working non-stop since the last battle ended, pushing the boundaries of physics even further than before. We have one option, Lisa said, but it's incredibly dangerous, potentially catastrophic. She activated a holographic display showing a device that looked like a small sun contained in a sphere of impossible geometry. We call it the Constant Engine. It's an amplified version of the reality manipulation technology. Instead of small localized fields, this creates a region of altered physics spanning millions of kilometers. Daniel continued. We can deploy it around Earth. When the Dominion fleet arrives, we activate the device. Inside its field, we control all the fundamental constants of physics. Gravity, electromagnetism, nuclear forces, everything. Marcus leaned forward. How dangerous. If it malfunctions, it could destroy Earth, Lisa admitted. The math is solid, but we've never tested anything on this scale. We're literally gambling with reality itself. The room fell silent. The choice was stark. Use an untested weapon that might destroy them, or face certain destruction from the Dominion fleet. How long to build it? Marcus asked. It's already built. We started construction a week ago. Jake smiled despite the situation. Always preparing. Always planning ahead. That was humanity's way. Then we have our answer. We use it. Across the galaxy, the elder species watched with growing interest. The ethereal collective, the Forge Masters, and the Hive Unity had observed millions of civilizations over billions of years. They had seen patterns repeat endlessly. Species rose and fell according to predictable cycles, until humanity. They broke the fundamental law, the ethereal collective's speaker observed. Technological development requires time, stability, careful progression. These humans skip steps. They rush forward recklessly. By all logic, they should have destroyed themselves months ago. Yet they persist, a Forge Master rumbled. Their approach is chaotic, dangerous, brilliant. The Hive Unity's countless voices spoke in unison. They are teaching the galaxy a new pattern, one we did not know was possible. The ancient species reached a decision. They would not interfere in the coming battle. But if humanity survived, if they somehow defeated a force 20 times their size, then the elder species would offer something they had never offered any civilization before: full partnership. Equals among equals, Admiral Korthax had been relieved of command after his failure. High Chancellor Vrexus herself would lead the final assault. She stood aboard the greatest warship ever built, surrounded by 2,000 vessels that represented 10,000 years of military development. The humans cannot survive this, she told her officers. They had surprised before. They had tricks, but we know their capabilities now. We've adapted, and we have overwhelming force. This ends today. The massive armada jumped to faster-than-light travel. Destination: Earth. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance watching the countdown timer tick toward 0. The Dominion fleet would arrive in minutes. Around him, the remaining 45 human warships held position around Earth. 45 ships against 2,000. Constant engine status? He asked. Online, Lisa reported from the control center deep beneath Earth's surface, ready to activate on your command. Jake, I need to stress how dangerous this is. We're about to change the fundamental nature of reality in a sphere encompassing half the solar system. What's the worst that could happen? Total protonic reversal. Matter itself could become unstable. We could accidentally create a black hole. The field might expand uncontrollably. Earth could cease to exist. And if we don't activate it? Lisa's silence was answer enough. All ships, Jake transmitted on all channels. Hold position. Don't fire until I give the word. Trust the plan. Amy Carter's voice came through from her fighter squadron. Jake, we're ready. Whatever happens, it's been an honor. The honor is mine, Amy. Everyone stay sharp. Space rippled as the Dominion Armada emerged from faster-than-light travel. 2,000 warships arranged in perfect formation, enough firepower to shatter planets. They surrounded Earth in a sphere of overwhelming force. High Chancellor Vrexus transmitted to all human forces. You fought well. For primitives, but this ends now. Surrender and we will make your deaths quick. Resist and we will make your entire species suffer. Jake Morrison's response was simple. No. Then die. 2,000 warships opened fire simultaneously. The amount of energy unleashed in that single moment could have boiled Earth's oceans and scorched the continents. It was the killing blow. The final solution, now! Jake shouted. Lisa activated the constant engine. Reality screamed. The fundamental constants of physics changed across millions of kilometers of space. Gravity inverted. Electromagnetic forces weakened to nothing. The strong nuclear force that held atoms together fluctuated wildly. The speed of light became variable.